Hi, I'm Tom, amateur radio call sign N8FDY. And today we have another meter review. And it is the Fluke 17B Max. This meter is not intended for this country. I bought it through eBay. It's a definitely gray market. It has no support. But I was dying to see what Fluke sells to Asia and India. That's where this is marketed. So, and you can still get them on eBay. It was kind of expensive for what this meter does. It was $150. And the manual is in Chinese because, again, this wasn't made for the American market, but I was able to download an English version of the manual. You can search through Google. If you go directly to the Fluke website, and they always ask what region you're in, what country, what language. If you do that for the US, the search will not bring up this meter. But if you use Google search, and Google indexes the whole Fluke site, you will end up at the product page for this. And it is in English, and they do have an English manual. But it definitely is not meant for this market. So you get the meter, which kind of looks like a Fluke meter. You get the standard plastic Fluke leads. There is an option to order this with extra sharp leads. I didn't want to stick myself, so I got the regular leads. There's also another option for this meter where you can get both sets of leads. But I wanted to keep the price under $150, so you also get a thermocouple to measure temperature. And I don't have a way to accurately judge temperature, so I didn't test that. This meter is CSA listed in Canada and the United States, so that means it's third-party safety tested. It has a Cat 3 600 volt rating. It's a 6,000 count meter for voltage, 5,000 count for frequency, and 4,000 counts for the other ranges. It has a basic DC accuracy of 0.5%, plus or minus 3 digits. It has a min-max function. It has a relative function, has hold. It also has auto-off override and backlight auto-off override. It comes with a K-type thermocouple. It includes 2 AA batteries. Well, this does have a backlight, which isn't very bright. But the good thing is, if you hold the backlight button down when you turn the meter on, it'll disable the automatic off of the backlight, so the backlight will stay on as long as you want it. So we'll leave it on. It also has an option where if you hold down the yellow button and turn it on, it disables the backlight off, and it also disables the auto power off. So you can leave the meter on until the batteries run out. You may wonder, why would you want to do that? Well, it depends on what you're doing and the project you're working on. You may not want to have the meter turn off in the middle of your measurements, especially if you're doing something long term. All right. The battery compartment's a little different than many of the Flukes. It has a 90-degree latch that you can turn and get access to the battery. Unfortunately, you still have to disassemble the meter to change the fuses. You need to remove 6 self-tapping screws that are screwed into plastic, so you have to be careful when you put it back together to access the fuses. This is a close-up of where the 440 milliamp fuse goes. And then this is a close-up of where the 11 amp fuse goes. Well, let's measure some voltages. We'll start with DC volts. This is 2.5005. The meter reads it at 2.50, which is good. This is 5.0009, and this reads it as 5.002. This is 7.5016, and this reads it as 7.50. This is 10.0015, and it reads it as 10.01. Pretty good. The good news is this meter met its specifications for all the DC voltage readings. There's actually a few more voltage readings that are listed in the PDF document that there's a link to in the description of this review that points to the written review in my GitHub repository. The bad news is the millivolt DC range is the least accurate specification of all the meters I tested in the 6,000 group. When the lowest measurement, the 1 millivolt DC, is taken, the uncertainty value is equal to 1 millivolt. So it's pretty much a meaningless reading, so you really can't start counting on the meter till 10 millivolts and above. Well, now we'll demonstrate the AC voltage. I'm using my arbitrary waveform generator to generate a 60 hertz AC signal, in this case 2 volts. So we'll show you what 2 volts looks like on the Fluke 289, which is the most accurate AC voltage meter I have that's portable. I usually use the Keithley MM6500, which was calibrated in February. So that's what I'm judging all these meters against, is that standard. And I realize most people professionally would measure meters with actual voltage standards and current standards and the like. And I don't have any of those, but I'm just using my Keithley as the standard that I measure all the voltages and currents and resistance with and capacitance, and then use that to judge these meters. So it may not be the best way to do it, but I do not have a calibrator. I saw some excellent meter calibrators that would be very handy for this, but they are in the $100,000 range, and that was just wasn't going to happen for me. Anyway, that's my method. Take it or leave it. So let's see what we got. The 289 says 2.0002, and the little Fluke says 2.000. So again, definitely more accurate than what the specifications suggest. Well, this is an averaging meter. It's not a true RMS, so the voltage for the 100 hertz square wave would not agree with the Keithley. So, but I don't have a calibrated averaging meter to tell you if this is correct or not. For the 60 hertz sine wave, the readings met the specifications as in the manual. That's the good news. The bad news is the millivolt AC accuracy specification was the lowest of all the 6,000 count meters. This meter will warn you if you have your leads plugged in the wrong place. So I have it set on AC voltage, but I plug a lead into the milliamp jack, and it says, "Oh, warning, Will Robinson, warning." So the way you fix that is you take that out and put it back where it belongs. But then if I switch it over to microamps, unfortunately it doesn't tell you to change it. I built a constant current fixture that will provide constant currents in the microamps and millamp ranges. They did not come out in even values for the microamps, but I'm still using it. And I've measured it with the Keithley and labeled it so we know what the Keithley thinks these currents are. Now we'll see what this little Fluke thinks. Here's our first measurement. It's 0.89 microamps, and the meter says it's 0.8, which isn't bad. Notoriously, meters are less accurate the lower end of the scale you get, and this is a very low end of the microamp scale. This is 9.21 microamps, and this reads it as 9.2. Again, it's pretty good. This is 99.0 microamps, and the meter reads it at 99.1. Not too bad. This is 131.8 microamps, and the meter reads it as 132. That's still not bad. This is 1 milliamp, and the meter reads it as 0.99 milliamps. This is 9.98 milliamps, and the meter reads it as 9.98. This is 99.4 milliamps, and the meter reads it as 99.3. Well, the amp range, the DC amp range, was pretty good. It definitely seems to be testing better than its specifications. Again, since this is an averaging meter and not a true RMS meter, the AC current of 100 hertz square wave, I don't know what that measurement should be because I don't have a calibrated meter for averaging. The DC currents all matched the specifications in the manual. The downside was the microamp specifications in the manual. The accuracy specifications are the lowest in all of the 6,000 count meter group. Here's a chart of the accuracy specifications for all the 6,000 count meters that I tested. This is just for the voltage and current. And as you can see, the Fluke 17B is 4 of the values are the lowest specifications in the group, and none of the values are above average or the best. Ironically, the cheapest meter is 4 of the items are the worst, but it has one specification, the AC microamps, that are actually the best in the group. So someday these guys might sneak up and improve all their other specifications, and look out. Anyway, the red background for the meter model numbers indicates that it is not third-party safety tested. At least I couldn't find any reference on the meter or in the manual about that. So all the rest of them are third-party safety tested. And as I was surprised to find out that the Fluke 87, both versions of it have the most areas that have the best specifications. Now we're going to measure some resistance. First, we're going to short the leads, see what the lead resistance is. Well, it says the lead resistance is 0.1 ohms. Oh, now it's 0.0 ohms. Well, I'm suspicious again because I know these leads are about 0.2 ohms. But we'll go with what it claims. Here is a 1.004 resistor, and it shows up as 1.0. That is pretty good. This is a 10.0007 resistor, and it shows up as 10.0. Again, not too bad. This is a 100.069 resistor, and this reads it at 100.2. This is a 1.0001 kilo ohm resistor, and this shows as a 1 kilo ohm. That's pretty good. This is a 10.002 kilo ohm resistor, and it shows up as 10.01. We're going to jump up to the highest resistor that this meter can measure that I have in my little test board. And that's 9.97 mega ohms, and this shows is 9.99 mega ohms. So, again, pretty close. The resistance measurements met the accuracy stated in the manual. The accuracy specifications for this meter were not the worst and they're not the best. They're sort of the high middle. So that's pretty good. This is a 12.36 picofarad capacitor, and it shows up as 0.04 nanofarads, which is equivalent to 40 picofarads. So that's way far off, but it is. Here is a 102.56 picofarad capacitor, and it's showing up as 0.26 nanofarads, which is equivalent to 260 picofarads. So again, it's way off. Here's a 1.005 nanofarad capacitor, and it shows up as 1.69 nanofarads. So that's way off. Here is 99.51 nanofarads, and it shows it as 100.9 nanofarads. Here is a 1.009 microfarad, and it's read at 1.021 microfarad. Here is a 10.294 microfarad, and it's read at 11.04. Here is 112.2 microfarad, and it's read at 114.6. Here's 944.5 microfarad. It reads it as 1,033 microfarads. In my initial testing, the meter could not read the 10 picofarad value, and it got the 100 picofarad, 1 nanofarad, and 10 nanofarad wrong because it didn't meet the specifications in the manual. The rest of the values did meet the accuracy specifications in the manual, but the accuracy specifications for the mid-microfarad ranges are the worst or the lowest in this group of 6,000 meters. As we look at the accuracy specifications in the resistance and capacitance ranges, you see that this Fluke is kind of the middle of the road, sometimes a little worse, sometimes a little better, except for the low microfarad range, where it has the worst accuracy specification of the bunch. Well, now let's check some diodes. First we'll start out with LEDs, because people love to see the LEDs. Well, it dimly lights the red LED, but it does show the forward voltage. Here is the yellow LED, and it's dimly lit, and it does show the forward voltage. Here is the green LED, which is so dimly lit I can't really see it, so I'm going to count it as not lit. But it does show the forward voltage. Here's the forward voltage of a Schottky diode. Here's the forward voltage of a small signal diode. Here is the forward voltage of a rectifier diode. It is time for continuity testing. Let's see what happens. It seems like it's latched. Let's see how fast it'll go. It doesn't go very fast at all. Yeah, starts missing. So it's latched, but it's a little slow. Let's look at the pros and cons of this meter. Well, the good parts of this meter. It's under $150. It is third-party safety tested by the CSA. The DC and AC volts accuracy specifications are okay. The resistance range accuracy specifications are okay. And you can override the auto power off and the auto backlight off functions. Well, the not so good parts of this meter. The capacitance range is either out of spec or the specifications are too wide. Take your pick, depends on which one you're using. You must download the English manual. The DC and AC millivolt ranges are below average. The DC current ranges accuracy is below average. No measurement range in this meter is above average. Only available in the US by a gray market through eBay. And you must disassemble the unit to change the fuses. In conclusion, I would say that it's great that this is third-party tested for safety. I would say that for a US market, you definitely don't want this because there's no support. If you're in India or in Asia where they sell this, I think it's an okay meter. It does have lower accuracy than a lot of the Flukes. Actually has a little lower accuracy than some of the other meters that we've tested. So I do like the fact that you can override the timeout on the backlight, and you can override the auto turn-off timeout. The switch feels good. The meter itself is hefty, feels strong, feels like a Fluke. I like what they did with the battery compartment. I still don't like it that you have to disassemble the whole meter to change the fuses, but I guess that's their way of telling you don't blow the fuses. Be careful. And it does have that warning when you have the leads plugged into the amp ranges, but you have the rotary switch on a different range, it'll beep at you. So that's good. But it's been a very interesting meter to see what Fluke can do at the lower price. It would be nice if they brought this meter out in the US at about $75. Then I wouldn't have very many reservations in saying, hey, that's a good first meter for $75. But you can't get it for $75. And it has no support in the US right now. So you're going to have to go with something else. I would say if you want to, instead of spending $150 on this on eBay, go to Amazon and spend $150. Well, actually, it's $140 for the EEV blog, Bryman, the BR235, or spend $150 for the Greenlee. I think that's a DM510A. They both have support. The one you do have to send out of country for support. The other one is support right here in USA. Or, if you want the most accurate meters, stay tuned for my reviews of the Fluke 87 Roman numeral 5 and the 87 Roman numeral 5 Max. But I know those get into some money. So I hope this helps. I was so curious about what Fluke offers to Asia and India that when I saw this on eBay, I just had to get it. And I'm going to keep it as a collectible. I'm going to keep. So, but that's about all I'd recommend it for. It's definitely an oddity. Well, I hope that helps. This is Tom, N8FTY, saying 73, and take it easy.